That was done in the 1960s, and it was really commissioned by NASA because they wanted to know how to hire more geniuses. So they hired George Land and his team to go out and figure out like what makes a genius. So they started with a group of 5-year-olds and they gave them a creativity test. So the way they defined genius was how do you use your creative imagination to solve problems? And what they found was of this group of 5-year-olds, 98% qualified as geniuses. Then they came back 5 years later when this group was 10 years old, and it was down to 30%. 5 years later at 15, it was down to 12%. And then I think they just kind of gave up in like disgust. But George Land took it further and went out and surveyed adults and found that only 2% of adults. And the thing that's also very interesting is he attributed this to school, 100% to school, that you would take a population, 98% genius, and dumb them down to 2%. And one of his quotes that I love is he said, uncreative behavior and thinking is learned.
The central bankers of the G7 nations went into the room in Jackson Hole in August 2019, and they voted on the Going Direct Reset. Everything that's happening to us right now is part of the Going Direct Reset, and they voted on it. It was a plan. Okay, so they wrote a plan. They decided to do this. So they've been engaged in the financial coup for 20 years. We're now coming into the end game. They have to consolidate the financial coup, and they vote on the Going Direct Reset. And with that one decision, they made a decision over the next year to put 500 million people out of work. That's the equivalent of dropping several nuclear bombs around the world. That's financial warfare. And they made it intentionally, they made it knowingly, and it was a plan.
All praise to the Most High, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua B'Shem Rakak B'Dash, and double honor to the apostles and elders. A great millstone for teaching this truth has gone all around the earth. Shalom to the hopeful elect. It's your brother Atazawan Bayath. And we saw those two clips that I put together, okay? And there's two different topics, clearly, okay? One was dealing with education, okay, dealing with the creative aspect of individual minds, right? When you're a young age, that's why they say be careful what you say around young children, because young children are like sponges, right? They pick up everything. Okay, but that whole concept of school is pretty much on point, because you'll find that when you look at the school system and what their agenda is, okay, by board, by educational board, and by state, you can't color outside of the lines, right? They put you in a box in school, and you have to do what is prescribed in that box in order for you to so-called graduate, all right, which is a tool of Satan, okay, the devil, so-called white man, all right, let's say it that way, okay, so that people can understand, okay. And then also, that second clip I had to kind of cut short because she went into, the CV-19, all right, but she talked about being a part of that agenda, okay, that when they wanted to do this reset, okay, in the G7s, okay, that was part of the plan as well, all right, so just to make that point before I forget it. So now let's get to a couple of quick scriptures here, and then we'll end the lesson. So this is 2 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 11, and it reads, "Lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices," right? And so we're living in this time where everything is being brought out, everything through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua is being exposed. Now, what I did was, and I think I did this once before, I'm not sure, but it doesn't hurt to go back into it, where I talked about the school system and how it was how it was set up and who were the ones that did it. So you have to go back to old man Rockefeller, okay, and what they call the Rockefeller Foundation. All right, so let's read a little bit about this, about how it came to a point where everyone had to attend one of these general education schoolhouses, okay? So here it says Rockefeller poured a significant amount of money or investment into education system, into the education system, Slovakia. He created the General Education Board at the ultimate cost of 129 million and provided major funding for schools across the nation and was very influential in shaping the school system. All right. And so you can go back and read up on old man John D. Rockefeller, in which the Rockefellers are part of the Rothschild family. All right. So let's read a little bit further here. It says, why did John D. Rockefeller create the school system? Evidently, Rockefeller believed that the best education for poor youth was vocational. Okay, poor youth. All right. Was vocational, presumably so that they would be able to maintain occupations in their adult lives. This precedent set by Rockefeller was continued by the GEB after its funding in 1903. All right, and there's a famous quote that we're going to get, Salakia. And you can go read up on all this. I'm not going to tackle all of that. Just to give you the idea, this is how you got your school system. Okay, let's read this real quick. And this is a quote that's been around for, who knows, 100 years, right? It says, what did Rockefeller say about the public school system? It was set in place as a means to train obedient citizens, right? You train a dog, or a monkey, okay? And so this tells you what this man's mindset was about the people, okay? Think of it as a giant social engineering experiment, which it was. The school system was then and is now. And future factory workers, right? Consider his quote, or this quote by John D. Rockefeller, philanthropist and one of the masterminds behind compulsory schooling. Quote, I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers. Now, if that's not the devil being the devil, because he's talking about what he wants, right? And that is what? That people be skilled enough to what? Operate machinery, to fill out paperwork, all right? And so school helps to kill your creative thought process. And that's why sometimes when you see these kids in school and they say these kids are bad or whatever, they're disrupting the class, a lot of kids get bored because it's not challenging enough, not because they have a behavioral problem, but that school is boring to them because it doesn't challenge them intellectually, right? And you find that a lot in Jake, okay? Jake was always the class clown, always getting into trouble, never showing up for school, right? They had a thing called truancy, okay, where they send a truant officer to your house, or if the truant officer catch you on the street, when you're supposed to be in school, and all that sort of thing, your parents could get in trouble. All right, but these are the tricks of the trade, the wiles, if you will, of the devil. Okay, dumbing you down and keeping you dumb through their media, through their books, through their so-called surveys and reports and the like. All right. So this is Psalm 64:1, because now we're at a point, okay, where these people got to go. They got to go down, and it's happening before our eyes. Okay, everything's being poured out, okay, through the Spirit. Psalm 64:1, it says, to the chief musician, a Psalm of David, hear my voice, O power, in my prayer, preserve my life from fear of the enemy. And these people are your enemy, these so-called politicians, governors, and representatives, and representatives and presidents of this and that and so on and so forth. Your boss on your job or the principal in school is nothing but a truancy officer, okay, making sure that you show up or else you're some way punished, okay? That's all it is. Verse 2, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked. And you hear about these different summits that they have, World Economic Forum, the G8, the G20, the G7, okay? These are secret councils because we're not openly invited to go in there and find out what they're talking about, right? Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity, who whet their tongues like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, right? And that's what comes out of their policies and their arrangements. Through their bitter words, they destroy what? Many, many lives. Verse 4, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect, suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not, okay? And they make all of these decisions, these handful of people, if you will, however many it is, 50, 100, 1,000 of them in a room, okay, is thinking that they're going to control what's going to happen to billions of people on earth, okay? Verse 6, they search out iniquities, they accomplish a diligent search, both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep. But the Most High shall shoot at them with an arrow, suddenly shall they be wounded. So they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. All that see them shall flee away. And so you have all of these whistleblowers now, all right? These people who are coming out, like these two women in just these two examples, these short clips that we have, right, that we just watched, telling you everything that they've done from 50, 60, 100 years ago. All right? We can drop that, and we go over here to Psalms 57. And we jump in right here at 5, and it reads, be thou exalted, O power, above the heavens, let thy glory be above all the earth. They have prepared a net for my steps. My soul is bowed down. They have digged a pit before me. Into the midst thereof, they are fallen themselves. Selah. My heart is fixed, O power. My heart is fixed. I will sing and give praise. Right. So with our enemies, as in this case with King David, and with our enemies, we pray for their downfall. They may have put things together in secret, right, to set a snare, particularly for who? For the Israelites, okay, to trap us, to catch us, okay, but they actually set it for themselves, okay. This is Psalms chapter 140, and it reads to the chief musician, a psalm of David, deliver me, O Lord Yahweh, from the evil man, preserve me from the violent man. And these people are violent, okay? And as I said, that second lady was about to get into the CV19, but I cut it short just so that we don't have any issues with putting up the lesson, okay? For them to put a strike on the page, another strike, I should say, okay? But that is part of their so-called global reset, all right? And the Lord has put the spirit on them to do this kind of thing, all right? They're not doing it of their own volition, if you will, all right? Verse 2, which imagine mischiefs in their heart, continually are they gathered together for war. They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent's adder's poison is under their lips. Selah. Keep me, O Lord Yahweh, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent man who have proposed to overthrow my goings. The proud have hid a snare for me and cords. They have spread a net. By the wayside, they have set gins for me, Selah. I said unto the Lord, thou art my power. Hear the voice of my supplication, O Lord. You see, so this is why we pray and we put up curses on this place every day, okay, for these people, particularly Esau, Edom, all right? and then we'll get this and we'll shut it down. Just something real short here, all right, just to get to the point, all right, that this place, there's no riding the ship here, all right, in Babylon. Babylon is prophesied to fall, and that's exactly what it's doing. Revelation 12:12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, right? Having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And in our lifetime, the early 1900s, okay, seems like a long time ago as you sit back and you look at the calendar, all right, and you go back 100 years to 1923, that seems like it's ancient history, but it hasn't really been that long, all right? But they started their plot and their plan way back with old man Rockefeller here in America, all right, on how he was going to control, all right, the minds of the youth, okay? So right here, what I have here is what's called the G7, all right? And it's a pretty long article. I'm not going to go all the way through it, but as you can see here, it says Canada and the G7. The group of seven is an informal grouping of seven of the world's advanced economies, including Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom, and the United States, as well as the European Union. And the European Union came later, okay? So we'll look at a little bit of the overview, and it reads, the G7 is a forum designed for frank and open discussion between leaders, ministers, and policymakers, right? And these are the people from all these different countries who think that they're the better of all minds and know what's right for everybody else on the planet, all right, including the economy and medicine and politics and war and banking and financing and so on, okay? As a member of the G7, Canada plays a leading role on an international stage and is able to advance domestic and international priorities. The G7 provides global leadership and serves as a powerful catalyst on issues that are later taken up by other fora with broader global and regional membership. The G7 brings together the world's advanced economies to influence global trends and tackle pervasive and cross-cutting issues as well as emergent global crises. The G7 has strengthened international economic and security policies, advanced discussion on global issues including climate change and gender equality, brought donors together, and supported disarmament programs, okay? So it's really just a handful of people who think that all authority rests in their hands and they're making all the decisions, okay, based on saying, well, we're the top nations that make or have the highest GDP, okay, in the earth, all right? So they're going to decide who lives and who dies, who gets medicine, who doesn't, who's rich, who's poor, all right? Now, you can go into this, if you feel the need to, okay? But you can study that, look into it. It's been around for quite a while, okay? But that's what that second lady was going into, okay? Now, this may be new information to folks who've never or have had no idea that this thing was going on. They've had all kind of, like I said, different groups, G8, G20, Carlisle Group, Bilderberg Group, all these different things over the years, okay, in which these different families, okay, along with prime ministers and presidents and so on, decide what they're going to do about their own lands, okay, and how they're going to bring everything together in one, all right? As it says on the American dollar, what? Order out of chaos, okay? Out of many comes one, okay, is one of the Latin phrases as it's translated, okay? So that's pretty much going to do it for the lesson, but just wanted to shed a little light on that and put a few scriptures behind it, okay? These people have found out their tongue is falling upon them, okay, and all their evidence of their wickedness and their wicked doings and their deceitfulness is being put out on Front Street, all right, even by their own kind, all right. So with that, I end the lesson right there. All praise to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, all right, Shalom.